we will be talking about youth activities in the Ramadan. This is the topic of the five-part lecture series brought to you by Babel Ilm Bani Hashim Society, Mississauga, Canada. Yesterday and the day before and day prior to, for the last 3 days, we've been discussing how what is the importance of Som, what is the purpose of fasting, how our whole body fasts when we do the niyyah, when we intend to fast, why and when was it ordained and prescribed upon us by Allah, what is the purpose of it, how to cultivate taqwa. Then we also discussed what sorts of activities should be done in this holy month, what can we do to earn maximum rewards and maximum blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We discussed the stages of the different stages of soul, not just our body. We know like how to keep our body healthy. What about our soul? How do we keep our soul pure? How do we soften our heart? So we discussed the three states. There are many states of the soul, but three of them that we discussed were Nafsul Amara, Nafsul Lawama, and Nafsul Mutmainna. And we know Nafsul Amara is the one where you're doing sins, where a man does sins without even knowing that he's doing. He's no longer able to distinguish or is no longer able to hear his inner voice when he performs or commits a sin. Nafsul Lawama is a state of the soul in which there is that inner voice that tells that person that you're now committing a sinful act, so beware. Whereas the last state that we discussed, which was Nafsul Mutmainna, is the state that actually is fully protected from sin. It does not commit sin at all. And that's the state that we definitely want to strive to achieve. Yesterday, we also talked about how to protect our soul from sins. Obviously, we studied how sinning negatively impacts our soul. It darkens our heart, and it takes us away from Allah Ta'ala to a point that our heart is permanently darkened and hardened. We want to make sure that we do not get to that point. And obviously, sinning plays an important plays a vital role in darkening the heart. So, what do we do in order to stay away from sins? And obviously, once a person has committed sin, is there anything else that we can do? And we discussed that yes, there is this thing called tawbah, which is a blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that we can do to recover our soul from that disease, so that if we have done some sins, if we've committed some sins, we want to make sure that we do tawbah with sincerity, with utmost seriousness, with a strong resolve to not repeat those sinful acts again. We should be asking for forgiveness of Allah. And then we also discussed like what are some of the ways that we can do tawbah. So the Ahlul Bayt has given us those ways, those methodologies to do tawbah. They told us, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, for example, told us or taught us the Dua Kumal, which many of you must have heard. It's usually recited in the centers every Thursday. And there were some beautiful statements that we can actually use to seek forgiveness and do tawbah in front of Allah. Then there is another dua that we often recite after every wajib salah. It is taught to us by Imam Baqir alayhi salam, our fifth Imam Baqir alayhi salam. And I'll just give you a quick recap. It means, basically in Arabic, it's Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. Um, uh, uh, and so, and basically, if we were asking um, uh, for forgiveness, we're asking uh, uh, from Allah that we will not repeat our mistakes again, that we will not commit that sin again. This will positively impact our soul and soften our heart. Now, with that context, with that background in mind, today we are going to further talk about some of the other activities that we can do. We now understand that the body and soul, they're two different sides of our um existence. um, the way we protect our body, just the way we try to keep it healthy. And if it's not healthy, then we do certain things. We take medicines, we eat proper food, we do diets, we do exercises to keep it healthy. Similarly, there are things like dhikr of Allah, um, like reciting Quran, like doing salah, doing kind acts with others. All these things are to protect the soul. All these things are to make sure that the soul is also being nourished. Um, Now, since we are talking about cleanliness and body and soul, today I also want to touch upon um, uh, the impact of body and mind. So, a healthy body will actually have a healthy mind, and we want to also talk about the purity. So, I'll start off with this verse in the Holy Quran. It's Surah Tawbah, chapter number 9, verse number 108, when which Allah Ta'ala says, Wallahu yuhibbul mutahhirin. Wallahu yuhibbul mutahhirin. And Allah loves those who keep pure. So, just right off the bat, we understand that Allah Ta'ala likes purity. Allah Ta'ala wants us to be tahir. Now, Allah Ta'ala, we discussed that yesterday as well. All babies are born with a pure soul. Allah has blessed us with a body and a soul. And we already learned how to keep our body and soul clean. Um, so it is important to, so now since we know like how to keep our soul clean, we need to also understand how to keep our body clean so that we can stay healthy. Islam has put a lot of emphasis on cleanliness, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he says, "Cleanliness is a part of iman. Cleanliness is a part of faith." So it's that important that it's actually being made a part of deen. So if you don't clean or keep your body clean, then basically you're doing something that is contrary to your faith. Um, so, what should we do as we go about our daily routine? Our hands get in contact with different people and items, and we may collect germs, and germs are tiny creatures we cannot see with our eyes. So, we need to make sure that we wash our hands regularly. And with this pandemic going on, this has only become more important. But cleanliness is a concept, anyways, regardless of the pandemic going on. It's an important aspect for us, anyways. Um, Now, because Islam is a complete code of life, it has instructions for everything: how to lead a successful life, how to maintain our body, how to keep our soul pure and clean. Similarly, all these rules, and basically all these rules, are based on Allah's wisdom. Some of the things are there that we can actually um, see for ourselves. We can actually understand the rationale. Some of the things we may not be able to understand, but we want to make sure that we submit to Allah's will and we perform them regardless. Um, for example, like how do we, if you want to talk about, since we're talking about keeping our body clean, we know we do wudu, or every Muslim is supposed to do wudu at like 5 times a day, because we need to perform salah. We cannot perform salah without wudu. Now, when we perform wudu, what do? We've got our hands that we're cleaning and we're washing it with water. We've got nose, arms, like most of our body is being properly washed 5 times a day, and and we're doing wudu, right? So that's one aspect. That's one um, act that we do, wajib act that we do to pray, and we do it on a regular basis. We do frequently during the day. So it basically directly pertains to the cleaning or of the body. Um, Now, it is also mustahab in Islam. It is also mustahab to trim your nails every Friday. So on Friday is supposed to be a special day in Islam, and it is actually mustahab to trim your nails. That's also is pertaining to your cleaning your body, keeping your body clean. We have special rules on najasa, which is impurity, and tahara, which is purity. Um, so, for example, when we go to the bathroom, we must wash ourselves to become tahir. And then finally, it is also mustahab to brush your teeth every day, especially before each salah. So it's definitely mustahab to do it. And if you can do it before each salah, then that's even better. There is a hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that as well, that Jibreel alayhi salam always recommended brushing the teeth to the extent that I imagined it would become wajib. So Rasulullah Ta'ala is saying that there was such a recommendation, there was such um, um, a recommendation by Jibreel alayhi salam on brushing the teeth that he thought it would become. So that is the importance of uh, cleaning our body. And we've already talked about the soul, but this is really just talking about the physical body. And because there are just so many rules around it, we can see Islam has placed some great importance in make clean and keeping our body clean. Now, there are some other mustahib acts as well that we can do, and especially we need to make sure that we do make it a point to do these mustahab acts, like especially in the month of Ramadan. We can do it all the year, throughout the year, but if you try to rehearse and practice to do these mustahab acts, maybe you will form an habit and you'll get into this habit of keeping your body clean, and inshallah, it will be with you throughout the year. So I wanted to point out some of the mustahib acts that we should do before Salah. This will actually help us clean our body and assist us in concentrating better as well. So it just not has this physical benefit of keeping our body clean, but also we can ensure that our concentration and focus on the Salah is better. So number one is wearing clean and pure clothes, right? So if make sure when you are going in front of Allah, you're trying to uh, pray in front of Allah, you're wearing clean clothes and not dirty. um, so that's one. Number two, your hair is properly combed, it's not disheveled. Number three, and we talked about it, brushing your teeth. If you can do it before each salah, that's highly recommended. It's mustahab. And then number four is using perfume. If you're wearing the perfume, it's good. It's a mustahab act. And then lastly, it's wearing an akik ring. Now, this has probably not much to do with the cleaning of the body, but it's mustahab to do it before salah. Now, as we already talked about cleaning and wudu, we now know that when we do wudu, we are actually cleaning ourselves 5 times a day. Now, when we pray is also important. Like we've done that wudu, so our body is clean. But when we pray, it's important to free our mind um, from all other thoughts. Like you should be focusing and concentrating only on the salah. What are you saying in your salah? If you don't know the Arabic, try to understand, try to read the meanings, try to understand the meaning, try to learn the meanings of what you're saying in your salah. And once you're able to concentrate on the meanings, your concentration levels will automatically increase. So and like I said before, our salah, if our body and clothes are clean, it helps to calm our minds. It automatically helps to calm our minds. We can focus better. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, our sixth Imam alayhi salam, said, "When a servant stands for salah, Allah pays attention to him and does not shift his attention until the servant deviates from his remembrance for the third time." Third time. When this happens, Allah also turns his attention away from the worshiper. So this is like very, very important to understand. So once we are praying, we're saying our prayers in front of Allah, we want to make sure that we are giving our full concentration, we're giving our full attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to whatever we are asking from Allah, to whatever we are saying, or to whatever we are reciting during. Now, Imam says that if you are focused, Allah Ta'ala is also paying attention. But if you're not, if you're deviating, not the first time, not the second, but the third time, then Allah Ta'ala is going to turn away from the worshipper. So it's important to see the mercy of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that He's giving us three chances. Um, So let's also, because we know like our holy prophet is our holy prophet, our the 14 infallibles, ma'asumin are our role models. So what did they used to do for keeping their body clean? So Rasulullah is obviously sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best role model for cleanliness, and it is said that children used to love going near him, right? Because of his nice fragrance and inspiring personality and akhlaq. He would brush his teeth three times each night, once before going to bed, once when he got up to recite Salatul Layl and the Quran, and once before going to the masjid for Fajr Salah. So we should try to emulate that. Like if we can do it just in this month of Ramadan, maybe we can get into a habit of doing it, right? And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also used to comb his hair, and he would sometimes comb his beard twice in one day. He would put the comb under his pillow after combing his hair, and he had a box in which he used to keep an ivory comb with himself, a container of coal, a pair of scissors, and a sibag, the trick of a tree that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used as a toothbrush. So all these things are basically telling us that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had like paid specific attention and importance, gave importance to keeping himself clean. And then obviously in the Holy Quran, we've already recited that surah, chapter number 9, Surah Tawbah, verse number 108, and Allah loves those who keep prayer. So there is a clear cut um, there's a clear cut instruction for us in the Holy Quran as well. Allah loves pure people, Allah loves clean people. So this was really about keeping or how to keep our body clean. So I guess to summarize, it's more to understand that staying clean at all times is good for our for our health, and to maintain a pure soul. So it is directly related to our soul as well. And then we also discussed how Islam has rulings in our religion on cleanliness, which actually helps us stay healthy, right? By default. Staying clean leads to a healthy mind, and which in turns helps a person in concentrating more in a salah. And we need to concentrate when we are actually in front of Allah. We're trying to recite something, we're asking His forgiveness, we're saying thank you to Allah in our salah. So we better pay attention to Him when we are in front of Him. And so this was really about keeping our body clean, which in turn will help us focus better in our salah. Now, the second part of today's lecture is going to be about another activity that is also very important, and I wanted to make sure that we talk about it, that we discuss this. Uh, and this is about our uh, last Imam, Imam Mehdi alayhi salatu wassalam. It is important that we always remember him every single day, and we actively wait for his zuhur, for his reappearance. So we will be talking about in the second part. We'll be talking about that. Like actively waiting for our imam is crucial. Like we need to make sure that this is part and parcel of our daily lives. We shouldn't be like, oh yes, we know like he's gonna be coming and we'll be there, but like actively waiting. Like how do we inculcate that into our daily routine? How do we introduce that in our daily lives? So let me start off with a verse in the Holy Quran. It's Surah Yunus, chapter number 10, verse number 20. وَيَقُولُونَ لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ آيَاتٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِ فَقُلْ إِنَّمَا الْغَيْبُ لِلَّهِ فَانْتَظِرُوا إِنِّي مَعَكُم مِّنَ الْمُنْتَظِرِينَ. And the translation is, and they say, Why has not a sign been sent to him from his Lord? Say, the knowledge of the unseen belongs only to Allah. So wait, indeed, I too am waiting with you. Subhanallah. So Allah Ta'ala is basically talking about how you need to be waiting, and He will be waiting with you too. The sign of Allah is about to come. Now, Imam al Mahdi's Zuhur, or reappearance, as they say, it's inevitable. We all know that, right? But one of the conditions of Zuhur, now the question is, when is that going to happen, right? And one of the conditions of that zuhur, or that reappearance of Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, is that we, as his followers, are ready for him. We need to be ready for him. He requires loyal supporters, and therefore he's also waiting for the conditions to be ready for his zuhur. It's not just going to happen if you're not ready, if you're not preparing uh, for that zuhur. Imam wants sincere companions who will be able to help him in difficult days. Um, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also had sincere companions who helped him in his early difficult days of Islam. They were loyal and obedient Muslims who loved Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So uh, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasallam also need those supporters. But what do we mean when we say that we need to do the intizar? What are some of the things that we can actually do to better prepare ourselves? Well, intizar, or waiting, is to actively await Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. The one who awaits is a muntazir. Now, what are those things? What are some of the activities, or what are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we are a true muntazir? Well, first and foremost, it is very, very important to understand and learn about Imam al Mahdi alayhi salam, and teach others about him as much as possible. We need to understand what his personality was like. We need to understand uh, things that he did. We need to understand his personality. And not just that, we also need to make sure that we are actually promoting and propagating that information. What are other things we should stand for? Like, there's small things that we can do. For example, when his name is said, we should stand up and respect. These are very small things, but it brings uh, um, like a sense of respect, not just in you, but people who are looking at you, or people who are saying the name of the imam. They will also understand that this person has love for the imam, and he stood up out of respect. Saying salam is a very good way of remembering and actively waiting. Saying salam every day. Let's say you wake up, you roll out of the bed, and you say salam to your imam. That's a fantastic way of keeping his dhikr alive, because we all know that when you do salam, the other person who's receiving it has to respond back. Now it's up to us. It's up to our sins. It's up to our state of the soul and a body, whether or not we are able to hear. Because Imam is going to reply. If we are saying salam to Imam, the Imam is going to is it's wajib on the Imam to respond to the salam. But whether or not we can hear really depends on the state of our body and the soul. So if we are sinful, we would not be able to hear his response. But if we have the nafs al mutmainna that we talked about, if we have a pure soul, if we have a soft heart, we would be able to hear his voice. Have good akhlaq, do good actions, be kind to others. Like, these are simple things that we can do, that we can incorporate, especially during the month of Ramadan, to become a better Muslim, because that will please our Imam and also make him proud of us. Like, these are his teachings. We need to make sure that we are following them, and not just his teachings. These are the teachings of his forefathers. These are the teachings of our 14 Ma'asumin, the 14 infallibles, our Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as well. The other thing is Not just so just doing good deeds, being kind is not enough. We also want to make sure that we stay away from sins. We stay away from gatherings where sins are committed. We stay away from that company that is indulging in sins, that is indulging in activities that will gain them displeasure of Allah. Um, the places, like a general rule of thumb is to avoid those places that the Ambiya, the Ambiya, or the Holy Quran and the Ahlul Bayt will not approve. What else can we do? We can pray for Imam's safety and quick zuhur. Now, oftentimes you must have seen that in the centers, we do that as well, right? But just make it a conscious effort on your part as well, that you are actually praying. Let's say you're done with your wajib salah and now you want to pray for your needs and other wishes that you have, but make sure that you also make it a point to pray for the Imam's safety and his return and his quick return. Um, and there are many, obviously, mustahab du'as for this purpose as well. But you can always do it in your own language, in your own words. But there are mustahab du'as that you can recite to ask for as from Allah for the speedy reappearance of the Imam. Now, reciting salawat, durood, reciting salawat and durood, followed by the words wa'ajjal farajahum. You must have heard we recite our salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. But if you add this as well, these words, wa'ajjal farajahum, we are basically asking that please hasten our Imam's return. Wa'ajjal farajahum is asking, it's a dua that is attached to the salawat, saying that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten the return of our Imam. So that's another good thing to do if you are reciting salawat. What else can you do? You can also do sadaqah, give money to give charity, do good deeds on Imam's behalf, and this will hasten his return. This will ensure that you are actually remembering the Imam, you're waiting for his return, and you're actively waiting. And then one of the other things that you can do is you can respect the ulama and perform taqlid. Those are the folks, our scholars are there. They're really the representatives. We seek um, their expert opinion on different matters of religion, and especially in the ghaiba of the imam, they are the scholars who we really depend on in matters of religion. We want to make sure that we follow taqlid and we respect all these ulama who can tell us about different aspects of religion, about how to apply different rules of um, like after fasting for the holy month of Ramadan for 30 days or so, we get to celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Now, but a few days before Eid, our parents begin making preparations. They go out and buy gifts for the children. We buy new clothes, um, and we try to prepare good food for that particular day. Some volunteers in the community will start decorating the masajid, the centers. Some people buy gifts for others. Now, what is that telling you? That's telling you that everyone is actually actively waiting for that day of celebration for the Eid al-Fitr, for the day of Eid al-Fitr. So the preparations are being made in advance. People are actively waiting for it. They know that this day is coming and we gotta be prepared for it. And so we are basically muntazar of Eid, and we do this intazar eagerly and by actively preparing for it. Now, similarly, in the same vein, we should do this intazar of our Imam by eagerly and actively preparing for his return. We should do good deeds. We should make sure that we are loyal and sincere to him. We should ask and seek forgiveness of Allah, but also ask to hasten his return. If you're doing salawat, as we said, we should say Ajal Farajahum at the end. There are other mustahibs dua that we should also recite to make sure that we are actively waiting for our Imam. So these are some of the activities that we talked about today as well. We talked about how to keep our body clean. We talked about some of the aspects in the religion, some of the rules of the religion that focus on keeping their body clean. And then we talked about like what it means to actively wait for our imam, and what are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we become the true muntasir of the imam. And we want to make sure that we do this in the holy month of Ramadan, so that this becomes our habit, and we can continue inshallah throughout the year. So that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for listening to me. Inshallah, we'll have another lecture